Hey Lee, how you doing, brother? Can you hear me okay? I just put
How
you
are
into
you?
the board. Does that sound okay?
Yes, it does.
I can make it louder, softer, left, right, forward,
It's
reverse.
left, right, center. Can you do 5.1?
You know what I mean? Next thing you know, we'll have that on the phone eventually.
I know.
Anything to separate us from our money one more time for the same stuff.
That's right. Well, we're pretty much separated by 19 hours right now.
Well, I really appreciate you taking a moment to check in. Lee Loughnane, right? Is that the pronunciation?
That is exactly correct. Very good.
Trumpet, flugelhorn, Chicago, vocalist, songwriter, original member, founder of the group, Lee. You know, it's really cool. I've talked to Tristan Bowden a few times and gotten to know him over the few years, but one of the things
Uh-huh.
he's always pointed out is it's you cats, you know, the center core dudes in the band who have kept it alive for so long and playing here in the island since 1970. Do you have some like specific memories of Hawaii that just come to mind?
I'll tell you, we enjoy playing everywhere, but Hawaii has always been one of the highlights of the career. Every time we come there, we look forward to being able to not only play shows for you guys, but just lay around in the sun and relax and just enjoy the islands.
Well, you've had a special connection here playing with America different times, Three Dog Night.
Yeah.
You've been at so many different venues from the HIC, which became the Blaisdell, to Aloha Stadium and the Waikiki Shell. And a lot of places. When I think of the band, Lee, take me back to 1967, DePaul University, I guess the setting in so many ways. You guys not just came together, but developed an innovative fusion of rock with horns. Can you kind of remember before it happened when you were still coming up with the big thing?
Well, it was just something that Walt, Terry, Danny were in a band called the Missing Links. And when that band broke up, they wanted to form a new band with horns. And initially, we were going to take it to Vegas. It was going to be like a Vegas show band. And that vision evaporated very quickly when we started doing original music. We got to a jumping off point because the club owners had started firing us for playing original music. And we either moved forward with our career from that point, or we would have had to figure it out, each one of us something else to do with our lives. Either another band or another living, or a way to make a living. So as you can see, we have magically had to be put together to get this far in our career. But we have to pinch ourselves every day that we're still this much time later.
Yeah, you do. You've had such a long run. And had you established the sound when you talk about the way it's fascinating, you had the originals and they were just so esoteric, I guess, that club owners found that to not work for them when they would book you. But had you, when I think of the first record and some of those quintessential songs that you're so known for, and you guys were called The Big Thing prior to changing your name, had you basically coalesced with that sound prior to even adopting the name Chicago Transit Authority?
We did. It pretty much happened organically, too, where there was never really any intention of sounding a particular way. We had grown up and had all sorts of musical influences in Chicago, from jazz to classical to rock and roll to blues. And when we played together, we just sort of played our instruments with all of those influences just sort of coming through the songs. And it wasn't really anything that was intended. That's just the way we play.
It must have seemed pretty intense to audiences, huh? And the reaction that you'd get, because literally you were carving out a niche that there was nothing like it. There was no, as you said, you had come up with a plan to maybe get into Vegas, but it backfired in a way and turned into this original form of rock. When you would show up to do gigs, so many of the bands that you were booked on the same bill with, I've got to imagine that it was a real surprise for them.
I think, yeah, because it turned out that they were, hearing something that it might have been the same songs, but it hadn't been approached in the same way. And we didn't even realize it was happening ourselves. We were just playing.
What were some of the weirdest bills, Lee, that you guys found yourself on back then? Some strange bands that you look back on and you think by today's standards of packaging, that wouldn't happen.
Well, back in the beginning, we played a show in, I think it was like Santa Barbara, the Santa Barbara Bowl or something. And we were billed as a Boss Hitbound band. We didn't even have our name on the billboard. And when we went on stage, the headline band was, oh God, I can't even think of the name of the band right now. But they had a couple big records, and we went on first. We were the opening act, and there we played our first song. I think we played "I'm a Man" or something. And there was, when we stopped the song, there was absolutely no reaction. It was like a laughing with one person clapping, and we counted off the second song so fast. I think we played it on 78. We were scared and couldn't wait to get off the stage, but that was really a comeuppance for us.
Yeah, it was. Like I said, it was it had to be a different kind of thing for the audiences too, is what you're really pointing out. It reminds me of some of the stories. I talked to Marky Ramone, and he was telling me about times that the Ramones were opening for more mainstream bands in the late 70s, and the audience really did not know what to make of it. And it similarly sounds that way with you guys. And one of the other facets that kind of illustrates the point that we're talking about, when you guys started out, the first several records from the band were all double LP sets worth of music. Yeah. And by today's standards, I mean, people don't even, are scared to put a single out and see if it'll work. Can you look back at how that was happening?
Well, that was happening because we were, we didn't feel constrained. We were allowed to write and record anything that we wanted at the time. And that included horn ensembles, the horns were as much of a main part of the song as the vocals. So there were sections where the lead vocal would take over, and then the background parts would come in, and then the horns would take over and do some sort of ensemble through that, and then maybe a solo. So they were really pieces of music rather than just songs.
It was a really different approach.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and really the thing that changed that was the thing that allowed it to occur was that the record companies at the time were paying unlimited copyrights. So there was you could write as many songs as you wanted, and that's why the songs became individual sections. They like a horn solo was given its own song title. The Ballet for a Girl in Bikini was a 14-minute piece, and it was split up into, I think, 7 or 8 different titles.
Right.
And Smile, and Now More Than Ever, and all of the other titles that it has. I only know it as the Ballet for a Girl in Bikini because I never actually learned all the titles. But all of a sudden, the record companies decided that they were only going to pay on 10 copyrights. That changed the entire music business because the songwriters then would have had to share anything over 10 copyrights with other writers. And you'd have to decide, to take a less of a share for your creative work.
And that was per album?
And per album.
10 different copyrights, meaning 10 different copyrighted selections per album, and that was their limit.
Correct. Exactly. Anything over that you had to share. You had to split your shares a little bit.
Man.
That changed the business quite a bit.
I mean,
and we get blamed for writing songs after that, but that's that was part of what you had to do to remain in the business. We were just sort of moving along, and I think trying to be as innovative as we could and write songs.
You were very innovative. I mean, the approach, when I think of arrangements, Beginnings is a good example. When you look at that online today and it says that's Robert Lamb's song, but when you put that song on and you listen to the horns, I mean, is that really just trumpet, trombone, alto? It just sounds so much bigger than that.
Yeah, we may have doubled it. So there might be actually 6 six horns on it.
I get it.
But there is, yes, it's only three horns. And when you hear us live, it is the three. And the trick to that is to find the proper notes for each chord that makes the arranged sound.
The key thing I just took out of what you're saying is by picking the right note or chord for each one of those horns, when you put them together, by strategically choosing the right one for each horn, it's going to have that huge sound that we're talking about.
Correct. Exactly.
I get that. That's interesting.
It sounds thinner if the alto is too high, or the trumpet is too high, or the bone is too low, or whatever. You know, a lot of times we had to have the trombone, most of the time the trombone up an octave, which was obviously harder on him, but that made the section sound fuller.
Right. I know. That is huge. You did two of them. You broke two of the bubbles because the other one was it's doubling of the tracks that must have been what gives those sounds. I mean, because you just listen to that. And also the arrangement of it. Did Robert just come up with the whole horn arrangement in his head like that? I mean, how did the arrangement, yes. Really?
Yeah, he came up with it in his head and so he sketched it out and I think Jimmy actually took the sketches and flushed it out, and that's what we played today.
Thing just sounds amazing. I mean, it's really.
And I'll tell you the other thing when we were doing the first album and doubling the brass, we couldn't figure out what there was sort of a buzzing sound when we would play the second part, and what we finally realized is that was because we were in tune with each other, but from one track to the other, the differentiation between the first track and the second track, the double track, the intonation difference created a buzz that was close, but no cigar, I guess. But it was close enough to not be out of tune, but it was sort of created a buzzing effect.
And that was because of laying down the separate set of those?
Yes, the second track, the double.
Amazing. I mean, those details that you're talking about, but you really did reveal a lot of the sound. I guess it was a very simple technique, but it goes a long way, the doubling of those parts.
Exactly.
And as we go to wrap it up, because I know your time is tight, and I really am very grateful to get this time with you. You have the Rock Hall induction coming up April of this year. It's been a controversial thing for so many bands. They feel like, why now? Or, I mean, there's a lot of different reasons, different bands, different things. It's also seen from the outside as sort of like an insider's club. Yet, on the flip side, for the recognition it provides, for the path that it paves for fans in the future to find out about you. If you can share your personal take of what it means to you.
Well, I'm excited first, and I think we all are. And we had no idea how excited we actually would be because we've been eligible for 25 years. And this is the first time we have been nominated. And to see the groundswell of fans come out and vote for us, we had over 37 million votes. So we won the popular vote. And I want to thank everyone who voted for us because I'm sure that influenced everyone else who voted to elect us. And, they are inducting the original 7 members. And we could say, well, more people are should be inducted or not, but we're getting what we're getting, and we're being honored for what we initially did as a group, and it's very cool to have that happen. And I'm just going to wait and see what they want from us and accept it and say thank you very much. And the most beautiful thing of all is that we get to keep on working. We're going to be working with Earth, Wind, and Fire right afterwards.
You've done that before. That's another really heavy kind of production because it's not for fans who don't know much about it. It's not that you guys tour together. You integrate, you collaborate musically in a way that few acts have ever done. True?
Yes. Yeah, because we get on stage together, both bands together, and play Earth, Wind, and Fire plays a Chicago song with Chicago, and Chicago plays Earth, Wind, and Fire songs with Earth, Wind, and Fire. And it's like 22 musicians playing together, and it's a 1 and 1 makes 3 proposition. And every audience is amazed, standing on their feet, just going completely gaga by the end of the show. It's great to see and be a part of.
Yeah, it's a very special thing, and it's a shame we've not had that in Hawaii. It would be, and I understand touring circumstances have seemingly prevented that. It would be a nice thing. Final question, went back to that rock hall, and it was something as you spoke that came to my mind. I've never asked someone this before, but you're going to be there getting honored. And again, I think of the Ramones, I think of Marky. When you show up there, there are people who, as you noted, you're going to be celebrating people from the very first band, and some of those people, sadly, are not here. I think of Terry. I just think, is it an emotional thing for you, too, in that some of these cats are not there? I mean, it touches me, and I don't even know these guys.
Yeah, well, in our band, it's Terry is the only one that won't actually be there because he passed away. But, Danny and Peter will most likely be there, and I'm hoping that they'll be as happy to see me as I am to see them. And, play a couple tunes together, say this has been fun and move on with our lives again as we have before. But it's a great honor, and we are all looking forward to it.
That'll be the first time with Peter in a long time, huh?
Yeah, long time. And I wanted to mention one other thing before you let me go, and that's that we are going to be premiering our documentary. It's called Now More Than Ever, The History of Chicago, at the Sedona International Film Festival on February 20th. So that's another milestone, I guess, for us to be able to present people, behind the scenes look at where we came from and where we're going.
That's going to be phenomenal. Lee Loughnane, trumpeter, flugelhorn, the band Chicago.
Aloha. This is Lee Loughnane with Chicago, and you're tuned to my good friend, Dave Lawrence.
Great way to leave it with you is, I'll tell you this, Lee, if you guys have, if you have any time at all while you're in Honolulu, I'd come down to the arena just to record a few minutes with you guys, because I'd love to give that documentary a little bit of its own plug, and then I could run that as a second piece right around when it debuts.
That would be great.
I give you a big hug and a high five. Love seeing you in concert. Love getting to talk to you. And please give Tris a big hug and a high five from me.
I will do that. Thanks a lot, Dave.
You too. Good talking to you, Lee. Take care, brother.
Okay.
Aloha. Bye-bye.